welcome back to
The Zak
and Buzz
and kind of Jonesy
kind of
review.
So I went to go to the cinema to see The Zone of Interest at the cinema as part of Oscars season.
I didn't go with you, so I'm interested to find out all about it.
So the premise of the movie is it's set at obviously a concentration camp, but the perspective of the film is essentially from the commandant's family's perspective.
Right, so the commandant, I believe from seeing trailers, they're living outside the wall.
Just outside, yes.
So therefore they're living a normal life with all the horrors going on the other side.
Yes, we never in the entire movie see anything beyond the wall. We just hear things.
Right, okay, so it's not, you know, like Schindler's List, far more in that.
Or Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, where obviously things unfold and then we get into that part. It's very much from that kind of family perspective, and it's less of a story and more of things just happening. And I mean, essentially, what I find quite hard to kind of grasp about it is nothing actually really happens in the movie. It's just stuff. It's just life happening.
You said there was it started off with a big soundscape or something?
Yeah, it was full of lots of artsy decisions and things happening. So to begin with, we thought the film was actually broken because it began with like a soundscape.
Oh, right, okay.
Much like 2001 Space Odyssey, or indeed the end of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And
slightly different subject matter there.
Like at least 3 minutes of just a blank screen and just sound. As well as at other moments in the film, it's very stylized and it suddenly cuts to when somebody's being read a story at night.
Right.
Something completely unrelated is shown on the screen. And it's very monochrome, like vision.
Right, okay.
So like really freaky vision.
This won an Oscar though, didn't it?
This won an Oscar. This won Best International Film Oscar.
Okay.
And in those monochrome moments, it's somebody smuggling food to the people obviously working at the camp.
Okay, right.
However, there's also a bit where it like focuses on a flower and then it all suddenly goes red. And it's kind of filled with moments like that. But for the most part, the most noticeable thing is the fact that it's mostly shot from like a medium wide.
Okay, so
there's not really any close-ups.
So it sounds like the director has taken a lot of kind of artistic manner within the way that they've shot this film.
Yeah, and the whole all that really happens in the movie is that the commandant gets transferred to another place.
Right.
He then goes there without his family. His family stays at this home that they have made, they've built, they've grown all these plants in this garden. It's very prominent throughout the film.
Okay.
He gets to where he's going, and then he just decides to come back. And that's where it ends.
Right.
It's just stuff happening throughout the movie.
So
it doesn't really have much of a story, which is kind of a bit weird.
If you were coming from the perspective of somebody who has not a lot of knowledge about Auschwitz and the concentration camp, Belsen and things, and the the Jews being subjected to what they were put through in these camps, if you sat there, would you have learnt from this movie?
I don't think, unless you know what you're looking at, you're not going to understand.
So you've got to have kind of prior knowledge of what you've gone to watch first.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you watch this movie with if you're a youngster and you've got no basis of real history behind you yet, and you sat to watch this movie, it wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Or there was no kind of really gritty stuff in it.
No gritty stuff at all.
Oh.
The only gritty stuff you heard was just the occasional scream. You saw like ashes being like used as like stuff on plants for like fertilizer.
Right.
Some ashes were thrown into rivers and things, and then like the family then jumped out of the river. But it wasn't particularly like dramatic. It was just like, oh, quick, get out of the river.
Okay, so
the most poignant moment in the film, however, has to be where just when the commandant's decided to go home. He's walking down a staircase. It then suddenly cuts to modern day.
Oh, right, okay.
So you actually see Auschwitz and what it looks like now, the kind of museum aspect of where this is.
Shoes behind the glass window.
Exactly, it was very prominent. There was nothing really happening other than some cleaners cleaning up the place out of hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of showing you, obviously, where all these horrible things happened. That was the most informative part of it. That was the most striking part of it.
Right.
But it did seem a little bit out of place, because it then cut back to him walking down the stairs, and then the film ended.
Oh, righto.
Because as I said, nothing really happened in the film.
So just cut to a future segment,
yeah,
and then cut back for no particular reason.
No.
There was no link.
There wasn't there. Other than for art's sake.
I think it's a very
artsy film.
Right, I mean...
And the problem I have, and I've been shouted down a couple of times when I've shared my thoughts on it, is that because somehow I didn't enjoy it, that means I didn't understand it.
Yeah, I've had that before.
And I take issue with that statement, because I get it. I've seen the film, I get what it's trying to say. Whether or not I enjoyed that doesn't really mean that I don't understand what's going on.
If I can cut in here, you see, it's very difficult to put the word entertainment on a film like this, I am assuming, with the subject matter.
Yeah.
But you can come out of a movie and feel like a movie has moved you, has brought you, you felt different emotions through the movie. You've been shocked, saddened, upset. You could have all this kind of emotional railroad you can go on. But
which is just a typical point of art house cinema. This is exactly what it evokes. It evokes emotion.
But did you feel you had that on this one?
I must be very cold-hearted or something, because it just didn't leave me with any lasting thing or anything more than I didn't already know, if that makes sense.
I mean, forgetting the subject matter momentarily, just from the artistic perspective, when it comes to kind of art within movies, with art within a lot of things, I do find that some things can be very vacuous. Right. Sometimes people will look at a piece of artwork and they'll be there saying, "Oh, this is wonderful. This is the artist is really trying to express the human feeling and everything," and it's just a wooden post with a tin can balanced on top of it.
No,
okay. Did you, is that what you're trying to say?
The instance with this is I can appreciate the artistry that went into it. Obviously, a lot of care and attention was taken with the filming of it, what was shown, some of the creative choices within it. But again, it goes back to that. I already knew this stuff, and I could have watched possibly another film that would have evoked more emotion from it.
But for somebody who went into there and didn't know what you already know about the Holocaust, they would have been left maybe a bit kind of scratching their head. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it kind of... A lot of the critical response from this is about not what it shows, but what you hear, what it implies, more the implication than what's actually shown. So it was using sound more. Yes, it was. And it is, by design, an extremely artsy movie.
Okay.
Now, in that sense, I have described it as being Oscar bait. Now, I don't like that term being used in an almost negative fashion, because you look at this film in particular, and it's like, of course, it's going to get Oscar. It's going to... literally,
it's one of those ones because...
dangling some bait in the pond of movies that we have out at the moment.
If you're going to make a movie...
That's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to catch an Oscar from
If you're going to make a movie about such a sensitive subject...
And for it to be so stylised, of course it's going to get an Oscar.
It's going to get...
It's like putting catnip in front of a cat. There's a cat there. And it's going to go for it. Of course it is. It can't not go for it.
Yeah, so I see what you mean. Difficult one. I mean, we review a lot of movies, and we usually do the old 1 to 10. 1 being it's pants, and 10 being it's the best thing you've ever seen. I'd imagine this is a difficult one to actually put in that.
It's hard to really judge. You can't really score it against anything else.
You got to be honest though, and as an individual, when you came out, did you think, "Wow, I'm going to go back and watch that again," or I mean,
I think it has the potential to be one of those films that you recommend to someone else. But personally, I don't feel as if I have the compulsion to go and get that on physical media or to watch it again immediately.
Right.
And it was nice to experience it at the cinema. Because what was exceedingly interesting about this, because obviously it has got wide acclaim.
Yep.
The audience was actually packed.
Well, I was going to ask you, was there...
Considering it's like an artsy film, considering it was like a packed audience, I was actually really surprised.
Well, I was going to ask you, what was the audience reaction at the end?
Well, okay. Right. There was one honestly, there was a person at the back who stood up at the end as the credits rolled and said, "Well, that was shit."
Okay. Well, let's be honest.
He's being honest, and I was like,
well, obviously
I can't disagree with you, but I at least have an appreciation for the artistry.
The artistry, because obviously you know how this is put together.
I can appreciate the care and attention that was put into it.
So for somebody, therefore, to come out with an expression like that, it's because they maybe do not understand the artistry of what's put into the film.
They went in thinking,
and they've just watched it as a film.
As a film.
And then they've
for entertainment.
And they've literally stood up and said, "I'm not going to get that time of my life back now."
Exactly. Yeah. That was
well,
the influence.
There you go. I think that sums it up. Right.
It's not really something you can rate out of 10. It's just something you can watch and experience, and then you can make up your own mind, which indeed is what art is all about.
I think on this one, viewers, you're going to have to take your own punt on this and see if you're going to make your mind up whether you're going to watch it or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Put your comments in. Let us know what you feel about this movie. I can't say that I am inspired to bother watching it.
Well, we'll see what we get as a response from this video, and perhaps I'll show you.
Okay, we'll see.
If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of further reviews you'd like to see.
See you in the next one.